On our path toward arete, we confront the most turbulent challenge: emotions. In Stoic discourse, destructive emotions, such as anger and fear, are called pathos. They are, in essence, false and distorted judgments about what is good or bad, which manifest as irrational movements of the soul. The Stoic ideal is not the suppression of emotions, but apatheia, a term terribly misunderstood in modernity. Apatheia does not mean apathy. It means the absence of pathos, of destructive passions. It is the state of rational immunity, where the mind is perfectly aligned with reason, and the individual is immune to the emotional turmoil caused by external indifference. What we seek is not a life without emotions, but a life with eupatheia, the good rational emotions that replace pathos. In this video, we will perform a complete dissection of the psychology of the passions, the anatomy of the four main passions: fear, desire, pleasure, distress, and the techniques of emotional dismantling. Finally, we will confront the Stoic ideal of apatheia with Aristotle's ethics of the moderation of passions. Pathos, the error of judgment and the disease of the soul. For the Stoic, a passion, pathos, is not a mere feeling. It is a disease of the soul, a deep disturbance caused by an error of judgment that has become habitual. The mechanics of passion. Passion begins with the impression, phantasia, the first data the mind receives, X. My neighbor insulted me. The mind makes an impulsive judgment, X. Being insulted is a terrible and unbearable evil. It is this false value judgment that is the passion itself. The pathos is not the event, the insult, but your response that the event is bad. The four primary passions, pathos. 1. Desire, epithumia, the false judgment that a future good, money, fame, is necessary, leading to anxiety. It is the excessive impulse toward a supposed future good. 2. Fear, phobos, the false judgment that a future evil, illness, poverty, is inevitable and unbearable. It is the excessive aversion to a supposed future evil. 3. Pleasure, hedon, the false judgment that a present good, food, praise, is good in itself. It is the excessive joy over a supposed present good. 4. Distress/anguish, like the false judgment that a present evil, pain, loss, is bad and unbearable. It is the constriction of the soul due to a supposed present evil. The dichotomy is cure. The cure for pathos is the application of the dichotomy of control. Fear can only exist if you judge something uncontrollable, death, loss, to be an evil. If you know that the only evil is vice, controllable, fear is logically impossible. Passion is, therefore, a failure of logic, a failure in wisdom, phronesis. Eupatheia, the good emotions of the sage. Apatheia is not emotional coldness, but the replacement of destructive passions, pathos, with constructive and rational emotions, called eupatheia, good passions. These are the emotional responses of the sage, perfectly aligned with virtue and reason. The three eupatheia, rational responses. 1. Joy, chara, the counterpart to pleasure, hedon. It is the rational joy over a present good, over the virtue of your own action, over wisdom, over justice. Joy is a delight in what is under our control. 2. Caution, balasis, the counterpart to desire, epithumia. It is the rational desire directed solely toward a future good, to achieve virtue and fulfill duty, kathekanta. The sage desires to be just, not to be rich. 3. Welfare/discernment, eulabeia, the counterpart to fear, phobos. It is the rational aversion directed solely toward a future evil, to avoid vice. The sage does not fear death, but fears making a mistake of character. The absence of lipe, distress. Note that there is no eupatheia counterpart for distress, lipe. This is because distress is only caused by the judgment that something present and external is an evil. Since the only evil is vice, which is a failure in your choice, not a sensation, the sage cannot experience life. If the sage fails in virtue, he feels a rational correction, but not the irrational constriction of anguish. Techniques for emotional dismantling. Achieving apatheia and eupatheia is not passive. It requires advanced cognitive therapy techniques, which form the primary therapy of the Stoa. 1. The examination of assent. The fundamental technique is the suspension of judgment, epike. When an emotion arises, the individual must pause, the function of attention or prosoke, and apply the dichotomy. This is a pathos. What is the underlying false judgment? That the bus delay is unbearable. I withhold my assent to that judgment. The emotion is disarmed at its logical root. 2. The disqualification of the object. Dismantle the illusion that feeds the passion. Seneca, if you desire praise, desire. Ask, what is fame? The sound of many tongues that will soon be silent. If you fear pain, fear. Ask, is the pain terrible or just intense? Is it the pain that destroys me, or my judgment about the pain? 3. The premeditation of tragedy, premeditatio malorum, the technique of visualizing the worst-case scenario, the uncontrollable, to vaccinate the mind against shock and eliminate fear. By practicing acceptance of loss in advance, passion is eliminated before the event occurs. This transforms inevitability into material for rational caution, eulogia. 4. Cognitive distancing. Seeing oneself from a cosmic perspective, the view from above. Anger at a neighbor is reduced to a speck of dust in the vast cosmos. This destroys the excessive importance that the ego gives to the indifferent. The great contrast. Stoic apatheia versus Aristotelian Metriopatheia. The Stoic ideal of apatheia is one of the most radical points of ancient philosophy and contrasts directly with Aristotle's Metriopatheia. Aristotle, Metriopatheia. For Aristotle and the peripatetic school, emotions like anger or fear are not intrinsically an evil, but are necessary for action and virtue. Virtue is the golden mean between extremes. Therefore, the ideal is not the absence of emotions, pathos, but their moderation, metriopatheia, feeling the emotion in the right measure at the right time for the right reason. Feeling anger in the right measure is a virtue. Not feeling any anger in the face of injustice is a deficiency. The Stoic logical conflict. The Stoic rejects this moderation. For the Stoic, an emotion, pathos, is, by definition, an error of judgment. There is no such thing as the correct and moderate judgment, that something uncontrollable is an evil. The judgment money is good is an error. You cannot have a moderate error. Pathos is like a disease. You don't want a moderate fever, you want complete health, apatheia. The only acceptable emotion is eupatheia, which is rational by nature and therefore does not need moderation. The vulnerability conflict. Aristotelian metriopatheia makes happiness vulnerable to emotional fluctuation. The individual is always susceptible to feeling the emotion too much or too little. Stoic apatheia, by removing the logical root of pathos, ensures that happiness, eudaimonia, is unconditional and unshakable. Living in the state of apatheia. Apatheia is not the life of a feelingless robot. It is the life of a human being in his rational fullness. It is freedom from unnecessary suffering, the peace that comes from the certainty that the only evil resides in your choice, and that choice is always yours. The progressor's task is threefold. 1. Identify the pathos, the destructive passion. 2. Destroy the underlying false judgment, apply the dichotomy. And 3. Cultivate the eupatheia, rational desire, caution, and joy. Your duty is to live in the state of imperturbability. Don't wait for the perfect circumstances. Create the perfect mind, a mind immune to pathos. If you are ready to embrace the ideal of apatheia and master the science of emotions, leave the comment Rational Apatheia below. Subscribe to the hidden meaning and transform your mind into your own unshakable fortress.